Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star original continent based on novel. So let's start. The entire human camp was astounded. The willpower shock that spread indiscriminately from Milky Way Horde leader knocked 37 out of 39 Universe Masters unconscious, and only Void Gold Master and Bu Yuan Master was still awake. The entire Hong Alliance was dumbfounded. And the shock had been outspread. If it were to be concentrated, it would be horrific. Does that mean the willpower shock from Milky Way Horde leader could finish off almost all Universe Masters? Even Universe Supreme Masters might suffer losses if they are not careful enough. The seniors of Hong Alliance were all thrilled. Primal Chaos City leader gave a strict order: nobody in the Hong Alliance is allowed to leak this news. Only Universe Masters in the Hong Alliance can know about it, and if anyone dares to leak the news, he'll be treated as a traitor. Milky Way Holy Land and the Primal Secret Region were heavily guarded. Everything was concealed. Although many sector lords and undying fighters had lost consciousness, they didn't know how terrific the willpower shock of Luo Feng was. Primal Chaos City leader stood on endless remote ocean, looked to afar and thought, Luo Feng, come back safely no matter what. He understood that it was not easy to become so incredibly skilled. It could be inferred that Luo Feng might be in grave danger, as he was totally cut off from the outer world. On the 8th floor of Wu Chi Tower in the world of Jin, purple light shone on Luo Feng's godly body. Giant purple images were ingrained in each trace of his godly power. Hong. The willpower shock was spread everywhere. Phase 3. He has entered Phase 3. Only one creature in the world of Jin entered level 8, yet he failed instantly after the first try. I never expected such a miracle to happen in world of Jin. A Law Master entered Phase 3. He's only one step away from the final success. If he succeeds. I've been waiting for this moment for an infinite amount of time. The being in the black couldn't help but be excited. However, he was also anxious. Don't fail. It's the last phase. Don't fail. A miracle has already happened. Will there be a second? He understood that the possibility of a creature in the world of Jin succeeding was almost zero. The so-called sealing task was only a dream. He was just there waiting for a miracle. But now, the miracle was happening. Many talents had tried and failed. This was indeed a miracle. Inside the picture world, the purple-horned strange beast looked at Luo Feng. It could tell that this Law Master was going through a nightmare. This is the bottom line. My master created this technique, and it's very demanding on souls. If you can't reach the bottom line, you'll die. Rat, the purple-horned strange beast grew anxious. Please, keep it up. Keep it up. If you can go through this, you'll be led to a new world. Time flew, and during Luo Feng's practice of Na Yin technique, especially at the third phase, he felt that his soul was being crushed. It was nearly annihilated. However, when he couldn't hold it anymore, his soul morphed a bit. During the third phase, his soul could quickly adapt every time it hit the limit. Luo Feng couldn't help but wonder every time, when he reached a limit, am I naturally fit for this technique? Maybe it was like Star Tower recognizing him as a master and resisting the willpower shock from the godly eye. However, learning Na Yin technique didn't have much to do with willpower. After all, there were many supreme talents in the ancient civilization. Some of them had managed to attain the willpower level of eternal true gods, yet they had still failed. Willpower was only a part of Na Yin technique, the soul itself was more important. Luo Feng's soul was being crushed. Under Na Yin technique, he quickly adapted and felt much more relaxed against the agony he had felt at the start. Comfortable, thought Luo Feng. He started to enjoy practicing the third phase. After 90 years of practice, everything was finished. Luo Feng opened his eyes with a smile. He felt incredibly comfortable. The purple-horned strange beast lay directly in front of Luo Feng. Its giant face startled Luo Feng when he opened his eyes. Spirit of techniques, what are you? Luo Feng took 2 steps back. The purple-horned strange beast stared at Luo Feng and whispered, "I'm just looking at where you come from. How did you succeed? For what it's worth, congratulations that you're qualified to practice the technique created by my master." The purple-horned strange beast smirked. "Who's your master?" Luo Feng couldn't help asking. Was it His Majesty the godly king in the world of Jin? It didn't feel like it. "Humph. Listen carefully," said the purple-horned strange beast. "Even though my master doesn't know who you are, he gave you the technique. Remember the name of my master. My master was called Yuan. He was a real supreme being who wasn't bound by any powers." Yuan. Luo Feng remembered the name. "Okay. You finished Na Yin technique, and you fit all the requirements. You're qualified to get the mighty technique created by my master." The purple-horned strange beast sighed. "I've lived for such a long time, and now, I can finally go back to the technique itself." The entire purple-horned strange beast disintegrated into light, flooding Luo Feng's mind. Mountains of information were injected into Luo Feng's brain. In the space of the 8th floor of Wu Qi Tower, the being in black looked around anxiously. It had been almost 90 years, but he was finally relieved when the light around Luo Feng withered away, and the star characters in the space rushed toward Luo Feng. He smiled in peace. "I'm worth it now," said the being in black. Then he smiled and disappeared. Luo Feng was the only one left on the floating island. He stood there still. After a long time, he opened his eyes. The floor on the 8th level. Luo Feng looked around. The characters had already disappeared from the space around him. After learning the information, Luo Feng now understood that those characters were scripted into his body. Yuan. Luo Feng recalled the information about the technique he had just gotten, and he couldn't help but admire that being. The technique was called Lai Yuan technique. It was an unremarkable name, yet it belonged to a supreme being in the ancient civilization. Lai Yuan technique was also a willpower technique, but it was totally different from the Godly Eye technique. Godly Eye technique required willpower at the level of a true god of void space, so Luo Feng was able to practice it now. Lai Yuan technique required willpower at a consecrated level. Godly Eye technique was relatively inferior, and it was useful to true gods of void space, and eternal true gods. As for Lai Yuan technique, it could drive even godly kings crazy. It was an exceptional technique. If His Majesty the godly king in the world of Jin could practice Lai Yuan technique and achieve something, his power would surge, while Jin would suppress other powers. It was a technique that could change the power dynamic. However, it had been created by Yuan, who was removed from power struggles. The technique had led to countless battles in the ancient civilization. Even though godly king of Jin couldn't practice it by himself, he had tried to let the talents under him practice it. They had all failed, until Luo Feng showed up. A pillar shot down and covered Luo Feng. Then he disappeared from the 8th floor of Wu Qi Tower. Luo Feng arrived at the 9th level. This meant he had succeeded. He would gain Wu Qi God and be sealed. Luo Feng stood in a square palace. There were ancient sculptures on the wall, which were of a special style unique to the world of Jin. This is the 9th floor of Wu Qi Tower. Luo Feng's eyes gleamed. Other than being sealed and gaining Wu Qi God, Luo Feng's other goal was to learn the secret hidden behind all this. Suddenly, a voice came from the silent area in front of him. "Come in." Following the ancient and solemn passage, Luo Feng advanced along the secluded path. It was composed of numerous huge, squared stone slabs. Every slab had a different carving. No two sculptures were the same. Each was carved to so-called perfection. Even Luo Feng himself could not help but admire these sculptures every time he lowered his head toward the slabs. What might have looked like normal roads and courtyard walls were, in fact, rich with hidden luxuries. Turning the corner, he saw a door that had been left open. With a single glance, Luo Feng looked beyond the door and saw that inside the room, there were some automaton components and weapon parts placed about casually and in a messy manner. Luo Feng walked to the door and saw a man wearing a beautiful robe. He was looking intently at several different automaton components placed beside him. The man in the beautiful robe turned and looked toward Luo Feng. Then he smiled. "Since you are here, do take a seat first." Up ahead was an exquisite black throne. Luo Feng did not say a word. Obediently, he went to the throne and sat down. Since it was His Majesty the Godly King who had created Wuqi Tower, and had designed so many difficult obstacles that had caused countless elite warriors of the world of Jin to perish one after the other, he must have had a goal in mind. This man, Luo Feng, took a careful look. Strange. Even the virtual consciousness of the previous Duan Dong River carried an air of oppressive force. How could he not have even the slightest bit of oppressive force? It was as though Luo Feng was still a child and had run into an elderly old grandfather from his neighborhood. He looked at the man before him and could not help but feel a sort of amicable nature toward him. He had no fear. Instead, he felt very much at home. Impressive. Luo Feng was secretly shocked. Even with the strength of my willpower, I am still unable to control myself. I have already developed good-natured feelings for him. The man wearing the beautiful robe looked toward Luo Feng. You must be very curious. Why did Godly King create this Wuqi Tower? Why design so many difficult obstacles? Now, let me tell you why. First, I have to tell you my identity. I am the Godly King of this world of Jin. Luo Feng was astonished. His Majesty the Godly King. He might have guessed as much, but he had not dared to believe it. This common-looking man, who bore the look of an ordinary grandfather from Earth, was His Majesty the Godly King. Technically, I am the virtual consciousness left behind by His Majesty the Godly King after he was gone, said the man in the beautiful robe as he looked at Luo Feng. Virtual consciousness. In his heart, Luo Feng was secretly shocked. But things were just as he had guessed. His Majesty the Godly King had truly died. You don't seem to be overly surprised, said the man, still looking at Luo Feng. Seems like everything is within your expectations. I may have observed you from afar, but there is nothing else I can tell about you. But now I know, you are not a life form from my world of Jin. Luo Feng was inwardly shocked. He almost wanted to self-destruct right away. But on the outside, Luo Feng maintained a calm composure. I am not exactly indifferent, he said. I do still feel shocked, but everything you just said was simply unbelievable. That is why I still maintain a dubious attitude. You say you are His Majesty the Godly King. Then you say you are the virtual consciousness left behind by the Godly King after he died. The noble Godly King is very far from me, and how could it be possible for him to die? Also, you mentioned that I am not a life form from the world of Jin. What do you mean? The man wearing the beautiful robe laughed joyfully. No need to put up your guard against me. There is no need for worries. He laughed again and said, I will tell you everything in detail. Then you will understand. Luo Feng listened carefully. Back then, a hint of recollection flashed in the eyes of the man in the robe. It was a long, long time ago. I chose a hopeless road that seemed to lead to nowhere but doom, so before I set off, I created this Wuqi Tower in my world of Jin and left the mission to receive a title. Even if I failed, then perhaps I would still have a shot at reversing the situation. Then I left. But only after I left a virtual consciousness here. One that had all my memories and thoughts. It was almost my essence in its entirety. The only difference was that it was not a true life form. Of course, even though I am this virtual consciousness, in my subconscious mind, I still think of myself as the Godly King. Luo Feng nodded to indicate his understanding. After all, this virtual consciousness did possess all the memories and thoughts of that His Majesty the Godly King of Jin. After the Godly King left, I truly have no idea what kind of dangers he encountered, continued the man in the robe. After all, I was unable to establish contact with him. He sighed. Through my understanding of the world of Jin, I eventually found out, on a particular day, that the Godly King had been annihilated. Wu Chi Tower has a total of 9 levels, he continued. The 9th level is where one can connect to the core of the universe origin of the entire world of Jin. I frequent the core of the origin of the world of Jin, and the annihilation of Godly King inevitably led to a major change to the core. He looked at Luo Feng. Besides, I have concluded that you are not a life form from my world of Jin, because the moment you entered the 9th level, the core of universe origin, that the 9th level was connected to did not acknowledge your presence. If you were a life form from within the world of Jin, then you would be regarded as a child of the world of Jin. Being acknowledged as one is automatic. Furthermore, you would also be unquestionably loyal to His Majesty the Godly King, willing to die for him. Luo Feng understood. It was just like how the life form's 9 remoteness master created paid absolute loyalty to him. The same theory applied here. Life forms within the world of Jin would be absolutely loyal to His Majesty the Godly King. The 4 great commanders were no exception. Just one order from the Godly King asking for them to sacrifice themselves, and they would comply without hesitation. Oh. Well, since you are aware of this, how do you wish to proceed? Luo Feng was growing increasingly wary. Killing him would be far too easy, given his opponent's ability. There was no questioning this. But for a high and mighty Godly King to spend so much time telling him all these details, he must have had an agenda. You only need to take an oath, said the man in the beautiful robe, laughing light-heartedly as he spoke. In the future, when you become a great being at the level of a Godly King, you must do your utmost best to kill the other 3 pinnacle existences. Luo Feng was taken aback. An oath. The ancient civilizations certainly had many oaths that reached deep within the soul. If an oath was broken, total destruction of body and soul would be the only outcome. It was absolute annihilation. When I become a great being at the level of a Godly King. Luo Feng was shocked into a flustered state. I am merely a law master now. Which is why you have no cause for concern, said the robed man, shaking his head. At the moment, all this is still far beyond your reach. You are unable to render any help to my world of Jin. This will just be a promise you give to me. A promise to be realized when you become a Godly King. Fret not. Once you have given your promise, there are only good things awaiting you. If you choose to reject it, and choose to self-destruct, the moment you do so, I will have to annihilate your soul. I know that most life forms from outside my world of Jin have the ability to divide bodies. Luo Feng was dumbstruck. It seemed His Majesty the Godly King here had a great understanding of many things. I know more than you might expect, said the man as he gazed at Luo Feng. Make your choice then. To promise or to reject. Luo Feng laughed in a resigned manner, then said, Do I even have a choice? What a joke. This had been left behind by a Godly King. Luo Feng had to believe it was true. Even if he chose to self-destruct, the moment it happened, his soul would probably be annihilated, and his various other bodies would be annihilated at the same time. That meant absolute death. Moreover, the promise in question would only have to be fulfilled after he became a Godly King. A Godly King, indeed. How distant that was. It would mean rising above an eternal true God. Luo Feng himself was not even sure he could cultivate to that level. After all, based on all the bits of information he had gathered, he had hypothesized that a Godly King was likely comparable to the 3 generations of ancestors. I must verify that you mean everything you promised, said the man in the robe, and that your oath is true. After all, I am only a virtual consciousness. If I am cheated by you. He laughed, then pointed to the surroundings far in the distance. Instantly, up in mid-air, many strands of law engravings started appearing. In a short moment, the surroundings were encapsulated by a giant cage composed of countless law engravings. Misty cyan-colored light moved over to enshroud Luo Feng. This way, I will be able to track any trace of change in your soul, the robed man said with a smile. If you are not truthful, I will also, The man in the beautiful robe suddenly stood up wearing a look of surprise. Luo Feng was taken aback. The man appeared awestruck as looked at Luo Feng and said, You. What about me? Luo Feng was filled with doubts. The man in the beautiful robe laughed loudly and without any inhibitions. With an incomparable satisfaction, he laughed. Luo Feng felt all the more uncertain. What was the matter? Disperse. The man wearing the beautiful robe pointed in mid-air, and the countless law engravings that were originally suspended in the void space completely disperse. Your Majesty, Godly King, didn't you want me to swear an oath? Luo Feng said, at a loss. There's no need to, said the man in the beautiful robe. He smiled at Luo Feng. Since you have already finished the cultivation of the 9-volume manual, there is no need for you to take an oath. The 9-volume manual. Luo Feng was greatly taken aback, so stunned that he lost all composure. The 9-volume manual. This was the manual that had truly changed his destiny. It was all thanks to the 9-volume manual that he was able to make it this far along his path as a great being. If not for the 9-volume manual, perhaps he would still have become a great being, but not to the extent of his current achievement. The 9-volume manual, according to teacher Sitting Mountain Guest, was a creation he had created, and it could only be imparted to a single cultivator. This chosen one had to be a life form from the pulse of the earthlings in order to be able to cultivate it. What is the... Luo Feng's mind seemed about to burst with an overwhelming surge of thoughts gushing in endlessly. Only an earthling could cultivate the 9-volume manual. And only one cultivator was allowed to cultivate it. If Sitting Mountain Guest had created this manual, how did His Majesty the Godly King know about it? Yes. Luo Feng had been suspicious, even long ago, that the 9-volume manual was simply too formidable. Its creation was something that other true gods could never have achieved. Even Purple Moon Ancestor and East Emperor Ancestor, as well informed as they were, had never conceived of the creation of such a formidable manual. And yet, Sitting Mountain Guest had created it without ceremony. What is it about the 9-volume manual? Luo Feng pressed on. Ha ha. This 9-volume manual, the man in the beautiful robe said with a laugh, was a set of lost knowledge from my world of Jinn that should never have been revealed. Upon cultivating it, not only will one's godly body undergo a rapid change, but it will also be a great deal of help to the soul. It is a superset of knowledge that will bring about an absolute change in one's talent in the area of comprehension. So long as one has cultivated the 9-volume manual, he would be the true core of my Jinn nation. You have cultivated the 9-volume manual, so naturally, you belong to the pulse of my Jinn. When you rise in the future, if you do not kill the other 3, they will come after your life instead. So, most certainly, there is no longer a need for you to take an oath. No wonder teacher Sitting Mountain Guest hadn't contacted him since he entered the world of Jinn. Neither had he asked him about the world of Jinn. Sitting Mountain Guest hadn't even entered the world of Jinn. All great beings in Universe Ocean are curious about the world of Jinn, and there are no exceptions. Primal Chaos City Leader, and other great beings from the Hong Alliance are all curious about it, and lots of them ask me questions. Yet teacher Sitting Mountain Guest has never asked me about anything. I've been confused about how teacher Sitting Mountain Guest was able to create the 9-volume manual, and Star Tower as only a true god. Luo Feng felt that he knew a bit more about Sitting Mountain Guest now. Even though he still hadn't figured out much about the mysterious Sitting Mountain Guest, he at least knew now that he was somehow related to the world of Jinn. As for the core of Jinn, Jinn country was destroyed, and the Godly King was dead. Those supreme beings who followed His Majesty the Godly King might have already died. Without a doubt, Sitting Mountain Guest was a true god. However, did Sitting Mountain Guest obtain an inheritance like me? Did he get the inheritance from His Majesty the Godly King, or from a supreme being under the Godly King? Thoughts flooded Luo Feng's mind, and he temporarily pushed back the confusion. At least he knew more about Sitting Mountain Guest now. Luo Feng's mind raced, yet he was still able to talk with the Godly King normally. Your Majesty, who are the 3 supreme beings you talked about? I need to know about them first. Of course, said the man in the luxurious cape. They are the 3 country masters of another superpower, Sha country. Masters of Sha country. Luo Feng nodded but was confused. Where are they now? Could it be? Was Sha country destroyed? The remains he had found about the ancient civilization all concluded that they were from a destroyed civilization. Only the world of Jin was still intact. Destroyed. The man in the luxurious cape looked befuddled. Then he sighed. Yes. It has been a very long time. Sha country may have been destroyed. Luo Feng couldn't help asking, Your Majesty, if they are still alive, how am I supposed to find them? Universe Ocean was too mysterious. Nobody had ever inspected the edge of it. That giant object that looked like the body of His Majesty, the Godly King, could have flown from a remote area of Universe Ocean. Could there be other creatures in the remote area of Universe Ocean? Were there other powers? He didn't know. To true gods, Universe Ocean was unfathomably large. If they wandered too far, chances were they would get lost. There's no rush. The man in the luxurious cape smiled. When you become stronger, you'll know more secrets. As for whether Sha country has been destroyed or not, even if it has been, it's impossible for all the 3 country masters to have died. Luo Feng memorized his words. Look. The man in the white cape pointed at a ground close to him, and a machine appeared. What? Luo Feng said, looking at the machine carefully. It had a smooth body shaped like a monkey, with a flexible tail. It sat there in silence. The power made Luo Feng's heart race. The man in the luxurious cape said casually, This is the true god machine, Wu Qi god. It's one of the beast true god level machines, and it only allows one great being to use it. It's definitely a top-tier, true god machine that can fully utilize your power. The only downside is that it consumes a great deal of energy. You already have an enormous body, but you still need to be careful. Don't use too much godly power at once. Otherwise, it'll take you a long time to recover your body. Luo Feng nodded, looking at Wu Qi god with eyes gleaming. A long time to recover. What a joke. He had endless remote ocean. If you finish the sealing task and become a sealed great being, you're qualified to get Wu Qi god. This Wu Qi god is yours now, said the man in the cape. Mine? But the military credits, Luo Feng said, looking at the man in the cape. Wu Qi god required 30 million military credits. Ha ha. For every task finished, you receive military credits, laughed the man in the cape. This sealing task is strenuous, so the prize is 30 million military credits. Do you really want some other valuable instead of Wu Qi god? You can make your own decision if you want. No, of course I will, said Luo Feng. So, this was how it worked. The prize for the sealing task was 30 million military credits, which meant the final prize was to give the great being Wu Qi god. Wu Qi god. Luo Feng looked at the machine in front of him. Universe Ocean is in chaos now, especially after the 4 lands of Extremis. Besides, the original mind guided us to this land. Great Thunder Star Master performed a form of power completely different from godly power. There must be a secret behind all these events. Luo Feng felt that a storm was coming. The more powerful I become, the better I can cope with this situation. Besides, I've journeyed through Wu Qi Tower, and I got many machine-type valuables and true god-level armors on the 3rd floor from those soldiers. I can go back and exchange them for military credits, then exchange them back for some valuables fit for my human race. He was only one man, so he only needed several valuables, especially after he became a true god. He would only have one body, so he only needed a few powerful valuables. As for the majority of the machine-type valuables he obtained, he did that because he needed to think about the future of the human race. Of course, he wouldn't just give them away for free. Nobody could get anything for free. Luo Feng strolled to Wu Qi god and sealed his life imprint in it. This machine-type valuable, which looked like a black monkey, merged with Luo Feng's body immediately, transforming him into a human-shaped monkey with a tail, but the face was still Luo Feng's face. So complicated. Luo Feng studied it a bit and could tell that the engravings were intricate, much more so than Bib Bird and Golden Claw God. This is a true god-level machine, and it's one of the most top-tier machines, said the man in the cape. If you want to maximize its power, your comprehension of laws needs to be top-tier, at true God level. Of course, even though you're only a law master, you can still use it. The power of this machine is divided into 3 levels. Luo Feng smiled. There were 3 ways to use it, yet even the first way was more complicated than Big Bird or Golden Claw God, let alone the 3rd way. Perhaps he could only utilize the 3rd way after becoming a true god. Put your Wu Chi god away, said the man in the cape. I don't want those soldiers to know the secret behind this sealing task. That was why I used Wu Chi god, as a shield to tempt those law masters and true gods. Actually, it's no valuable. Luo Feng didn't argue. It was true. To the great godly king, a true god-level machine was nothing, even if it was a top-tier one. However, he was a law master, so while he was a law master or a true god, Wu Chi god would be his best valuable. It might still be handy even after he became a true god of void space. Since I hope you'll become a godly king, I'll give you the practicing methods. The man in the luxurious cape shook his head. However, I'm proficient in valuables making, but apparently, you are not. As for those fighting type techniques, I'm not good at it. I've prepared an inheritance for you. Luo Feng's eyes gleamed. An inheritance. The more, the better. Start comprehending it yourself. The man in the cape threw out a crystal glowing with black light. I'm the only godly king in Jin country, so I can't give you the best inheritance in fighting. This is a combination of all the techniques obtained by me and the great beings working for me by killing others. It'll help you become a godly king. Luo Feng nodded and strolled to the crystal. It would take him a long time to receive the inheritance, though, so he would have to study it after leaving Wu Chi Tower. You need time to study the inheritance, said the man in the cape. Though Wu Chi God is very helpful, you could die if you come across a true god of void space. Which is why I shall grant you the strength of a world in the world of Jin. Strength of a world, said Luo Feng, dazed. You finished the sealing task, said the man. You're at the same status as the 4 generals, but only on the surface. The generals know that you are now the most important individual in the world of Jin. You have absolute authority in the world of Jin. If anyone dares to cross you, you can use the strength of a world to deal with him. Luo Feng looked pleased. How powerful is this strength of a world? You can suppress eternal true gods and kill any true god of void space, said the man in the luxurious cape. But don't slaughter. Luo Feng nodded. I understand. The godly king of Jin treated him so kindly, all because he had gotten Lai Yuan technique, and he counted on him to kill the 3 country masters of Shi country. After all, the godly king of Jin had already died. He gave Luo Feng such authority, because he had placed his hopes in Luo Feng, at least in the world of Jin. So I can use the strength of a world in the world of Jin. Luo Feng was pleased. Then the lives of all those great beings in Universe Ocean, who entered the world of Jin are in my hands. The godly king had only told him not to slaughter. That meant he could kill a reasonable number of beings. I've already given you everything I can, said the man in the cape. I am already dead. All this is everything I can offer you. You're on your own from now on. It's time for you to leave Wu Chi Tower. Luo Feng bowed to show his gratefulness. After all, the godly king had helped him a lot. A light pillar arrived and hit Luo Feng. Luo Feng disappeared from Wu Chi Tower and was transported out. This video will end here.